one of the things about my job that I hate the most is the amount of time I have to spend apologizing for things that aren't my fault.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approve, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dal.
Del.
W. Dal Bush.
Look, Dal, I feel like this is going to be a very contentious episode. There's a lot of
Contention.
Yeah, sure. But we're going to start with a story of me as a consumer to see if it in any way relates to how people buy things in their own life. But first, a question. Is that a new Kamen Rider coaster?
No. It's just a different Kamen Rider coaster.
So when you say different, you mean...
I mean, I've had it for a while. It just hasn't been in this exact position.
Okay. So it hasn't been in the podcastatorium.
Correct.
So for me, it's new.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Well, I noticed it. It looks very nice.
Thank you. It's a Kamen Rider 01.
He's the grasshopper?
He's a grasshopper. There's a lot of grasshoppers.
Oh, fair enough. For years, I've been saying that my favorite 4 modern wrestlers are
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega, number 1.
Pac.
Number 3.
William Ospreay.
Number 2.
And Ray Fenix.
Number 4. Now, Rob Schamberger is a watercolor painter. Mm-hmm. He also illustrated a book for Image many, many years ago. But he's known for doing wrestling champions paintings. He did a Kickstarter for that. He's signed at Challengers numerous times.
He was a longtime WWE guy, and now he's an AEW guy.
Yes, he worked for
he's all elite.
the WWE, and he would set up at WrestleManias and do booths and do live paintings. And
people might have seen him at C2E2 over the years.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been to Challengers a bunch. And I personally own a CM Punk painting, a Beth Phoenix painting, and more importantly, a portrait of my parents that he did.
It's very good.
And
classic Patrick's parents from the days.
Well, from their 50th wedding anniversary.
Sure.
He does a new painting that they sell as a print online at shopaew.com from Pro Wrestling Tees, which is 1 Hour Tees, which is in Bucktown, Illinois, which is our city.
Just up the street in
our
Damon.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Damon Avenue.
So when he first got his AEW contract, the very first sign print he did was young William Ospreay.
The Billy Goat.
And I was not really paying attention, unaware, and I missed it. I didn't get that print.
Right.
Fine. And it's not my goal to buy these prints.
Yeah, I mean, even ones that you've gotten for wrestlers that you've enjoyed, you've been kind of like, sometimes you need to be talked into it a little bit. Maybe you like the wrestler, but you don't like the print. You like the print, but you don't like the wrestler.
But when they did a Pac one and it was signed, I'm like, well, Pac is one of my favorites, and it's signed by Pac. I may never get a chance to meet him. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So I bought it and framed it and hung it in my room. And I joke that one of my sisters is very religious and has Jesus imagery around her home, and that Pac is my Jesus.
He is.
Just because he's got the same visual aesthetic.
He's maybe as ripped as Jesus was. I don't know. Maybe. It depends on what AI you use.
Okay. Here's what you missed. When that little kid was flipping off Jericho from the front row, when they were showing us that, there was longer video about it.
Oh.
And Jericho's like, why are you doing that? You don't even know what it means. You should be grounded. I'm going to send you to your room. And the kid just keeps flipping them off.
Right.
Right? And it's unclear as to if this is a young boy or a young girl. It looks like a young girl.
Sure.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
Young child.
But the reason I bring it up is because several people said, oh, she did this or he did that. So whatever.
Sure.
So the kid goes, yeah, I know what it means. It means fuck you.
Wow.
And Jericho's like, what? Go to your room. Go to your room. And the kid just keeps hurling insults. And Jericho just says, like, you're never going to be anything. You're not going to be a champion. Look at this. And he points to his body, because his shirt is open.
Right.
So the kid pulls up their shirt chiseled,
No.
cut, like abs like you wouldn't believe. And Jericho goes, "Where did you get abs like that?" And the kid goes, "From working out." I'm like, "You?"
Wow. Oh my God.
And the kid just standing there holding their shirt up with
Jesus.
this chiseled like 9-year-old physique.
Do you think Chris Jericho quits wrestling now? I mean, you can't
So-
recover from that.
Eventually, Jericho just starts screaming, "You're grounded."
Uh-huh.
And Big Bill pulls him away.
Mhm.
And Big Bill's like, "You showed that little girl."
I don't know that you did.
Just pulls up their shirt with chisel.
Jesus.
It's insane. Oh, man. So a couple weeks after PAC, Rob Schamberger announced he's doing a Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, whom I have met, is my number one.
You have a picture with them.
I do. So I'm like, all right, I'll get the signed Kenny Omega print. So I do.
Right.
This week, they announced a new Will Ospreay.
Mhm.
Like, all right, I'll get that. I'll have my trifecta. He's never going to do
So,
Phoenix again.
having seen both Will Ospreay prints, would you say this is like as good as the first one, or would you say
I
it's
don't-
on another level?
Nice.
Thank you. No, seriously, is it good?
I don't remember
You
what the
remember
first one was like. Yeah.
You just weren't in the market for it. It wasn't that you like thought it was a bad design. You're just like,
No. I
"Eh."
didn't. It wasn't on my radar. And when at the
Sure.
time that I realized, oh, it's a thing, it was already gone.
Yeah.
So these things have a noon central drop, right? At 11:30, Rob will always send an email reminding people, "Hey, it goes up in a half hour." So at 11:57,
And like usually, like Shop AEW and Pro Wrestling Tees will have like a day or two in advance. They'll be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is happening."
Yeah.
So it's usually not a huge surprise what the design is, how limited it is, when it's going to go on sale.
sure. But Rob's emails are a good
Right.
reminder, like, "Hey,
For
this
sure.
is coming up." So I'm at my computer at 11:57 or whatever.
Right.
11:59, I'm on the actual page for the print,
Right.
not available yet. The clock hits 12, I refresh, there it is, put it in my cart, go to checkout. By the time I fill everything out and click buy,
Uh-huh.
cart quantity insufficient,
Oh my God.
sold out.
Oh my God.
12:01, the print was gone.
Wow. Well, they only did 50.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not a lot. For Will Ospreay, it's not a lot.
right. So within a minute,
Mhm.
it sold out. I missed out even though it was in my cart and I was checking out.
That sucks.
I think what I should have done ahead of time,
Logged in.
logged in. But I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
mean,
already
it's-
in my cart, and I'm like, I was on the PayPal page,
Yeah.
and then it just like cycled back and said insufficient quantity.
So many people over the last few years with collectibles and with limited drops and stuff have horror stories of it was in my cart. By the time I checked out, it was sold out.
Yep.
And it's like putting in your cart doesn't mean anything. It literally just means that you're like, yes, I'd like to buy this, but it's like
Yeah, but
whoever checks
it's
out
one
first
thing
gets it.
that I just put in the cart. I didn't walk away. I was in the process.
Right. But just, yeah.
And then
it doesn't have that like Ticketmaster thing of like, oh, these tickets are reserved for
Right.
like 20 minutes
Yep.
while you check out. This is like literally the first person to hand over their money gets it. That's it.
I was trying to be that person.
I know.
And then
Sorry.
5 minutes later,
Uh-huh.
I get an email from Shop AEW.
Hey.
Hey, the Will Ospreay
Hey,
print's
Will
available."
Ospreay print. You want to get that? Go to the page. It's sold out. Sold out 4 minutes ago.
So I like to think that we don't really do anything in the context of the way we sell things that could happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just went, oh, well, I don't get it. Like, I wasn't crushed.
Yeah, and I mean,
I wasn't looking to spend $75 today.
right. And on top of that, at least you know that like there is precedent for them to do another Will Ospreay print.
Sure.
Like they could do a third one in a few months and be like, yeah, there's 50 more, and you'll get another shot at it, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to get it. You know, like they're not doing. You know, we will only ever do. It's a series, so this was the one Will Ospreay
Right,
print, and
sure.
we're moving on. Like, no, I'm sure he can come up with other ways to do Will Ospreay prints.
It's just a reminder,
Mm-hmm.
Dal,
Patrick.
that even though you follow the rules, I don't know if rules is the right way to say it, but you follow the procedure
Sure.
set by the people selling the product,
Mhm.
and you do everything in a very timely manner,
Right.
you can still get fucked over
Yep.
and not get your product.
Correct.
Would you in any way understand what that feels like?
I would, as a matter of fact. For people who were maybe paying attention to our...
Do you like what a really great segue
It was a
that
good
story
segue.
was?
That was really good.
Like, I got to bitch about not getting my
You
Ospreay
really
print,
did.
but it was really just a lead-in.
But it's also like really relatable because I think anyone listening to this is probably someone who is after something scarce or collectible in their lives, and maybe not my mom. And
to be fair, I don't want it because it's scarce or collectible.
right, but
I wouldn't care if
you
it was
want
scarce.
something and it is scarce and collectible. Yeah. And you have these moments where it's like, you did everything right, and yet you still get fucked, and there's kind of nothing you could do about it. And it's like, you can get mad about it, but that's not going to help things. Anyone who's paying attention to our various emails and social media posts of the last week might have heard that we basically had, we literally had same shit, different day this week. Last week, we got our Lunar shipment on Monday, and it was missing 2 boxes worth of stuff. This week, we got our Lunar shipment on Tuesday, and it was missing 2 boxes worth of stuff. The same thing happened again, and it's kind of baffling. We had talked last episode about how detrimental it was to get our Lunar product on the Monday before the Wednesday release, because when we found out that we were missing 2 boxes, the 2-day turnaround it would take them to replace them meant we didn't get the product until, middle of the day on Wednesday, which sucks. Even worse this
Little
week.
did we know how good that was.
Even worse this week, because getting them on Tuesday means the earliest we get them is Thursday, but we're recording this on Thursday and they literally have not shipped out yet.
No.
They don't even have tracking numbers. So will we get the replacement product by Friday? It's maybe. I sent another email to Lunar basically saying like, hey, we thought this was going to go out already and it's Thursday and it doesn't even have tracking numbers, and I don't know if we're going to get this stuff for the weekend now, and that sucks because it is a couple grand worth of product. Like we really need this stuff to sell, and we really have people waiting for it. To my knowledge, checking my watch, I have not gotten a response yet from Lunar about that.
They also haven't started shipping next week's books.
Nope.
When in the past it was conceivable we would have gotten them on a Thursday or a Friday.
Yeah.
There's not even a
Again, no tracking numbers.
Manifest, no tracking. Yeah.
There's a packing manifest.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said the wrong. There's definitely
so like they know what's going to be in it, but they haven't slapped a label on it to give it to UPS yet. So again, the advantage of us being within 1 shipping day of the Lunar warehouse doesn't mean anything if they're shipping stuff out like really, really late in the process.
And look, I'm willing to go pick it up. I would have been in a car right now.
Honest to God.
If they would let us show up and get the boxes.
I would also spend 6 to 7 hours on my day off going and getting the stuff just to know that we have it.
Yeah.
That would have been a fair trade-off. It would have been a load off my mind. Instead, and I told Molly, who's working today, like, I feel bad for her because she's going to be fielding a lot of phone calls and questions about, like, did the stuff come in yet? And it's like, no. And it not only
we have no idea when.
Not only does it suck to say no, to have to constantly apologize to our customers for something that is out of our control, but we can't even give you a date as to when we think it's going to be. Maybe Friday, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe next Wednesday. I don't know because they're still in Indiana. And that unbelievably sucks. And it sucks that this is something that happened 2 weeks in a row where even the first time I could sort of, as frustrating as it was, you can write it off as like, I don't know, man, shit happens. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
But when it's happening multiple times in a row, then it's not just like some fluke thing. It's like, what is happening with your procedures where this keeps happening?
There's already some other retailers who have noticed the same thing in regards to their shipments not having left yet.
Yeah.
And wondering about
it's real bad. And like, this is going to be a bad month for a lot of retailers in regards to shipments out of places that are already overwhelmed because it's also Free Comic Book Day month. All of the books that need to be in stores for the first weekend in May have to start shipping out in April.
Yeah.
That's usually a good thing in that we get a few weeks to receive those shipments and deal with any shortages, damages, whatever. We had some shortages this week from another vendor for Free Comic Book Day comics. But we get to deal with that stuff in advance. But the problem is that means that in addition to all of the regular stuff that needs to ship out from places like Lunar, they also have to ship out all of the Image Free Comic Day comics, all of the DC Free Comic Book Day comics, all of the Vault ones, everybody else who switched over from Diamond for Free Comic Book Day to Lunar because no one knew if Diamond would be around in April to ship out
literally
books.
There are publishers that use both distributors nope, our Free Comic Day books are only coming from Lunar.
Yeah, you might have ordered them from Diamond, but we canceled those. You got to reorder them from Lunar, which is fine for us because we were almost all of that stuff we were ordering through Lunar to begin with, but there was stuff that, fundamentally shipped over. Like, you cannot get it from Diamond. You couldn't get it from Lunar before. Now you have to get it from Lunar.
I understand that Lunar is overwhelmed right now because Image pulled all the sub-distribution books from Diamond and said, if you want Lunar Image books, you have to have a Lunar account.
Sure.
So Lunar was inundated with new retail accounts signing up because they had no choice.
Yeah, and additionally, a lot of publishers switched over either additionally to Lunar or exclusively to Lunar because of all of the upheaval at Diamond, which means that Lunar is now dealing with even more publishers, even more items, even more books. And I definitely understand that. And look, like, there's an amount of pity and an amount of consideration I can have for them as a distributor dealing with all of this unplanned stuff, and the idea of them helping out publishers that maybe would have not had a resource if Diamond was not available to them, by giving them a chance to, like, get into stores via Lunar's distribution. And that's fine in the sense of, like, maybe the books show up on Mondays or Tuesdays instead of Thursdays and Fridays. Fine, I get it, I understand. What is unacceptable is a quarter of our shipment just not showing up and us having to, like, this wasn't a situation where Lunar's like, hi, a quarter of your shipment, 2 of your boxes didn't get on the truck in time. It's going to be a little late. We're working on it. We're going to get it done. This is us having to tell Lunar, you forgot to send us 2 boxes, and then have to go through the process of them shipping them out. So it's not just late, it's an error, and it's happening consistently now.
And it wasn't like those boxes were packed and just left behind.
I don't know what happened.
But I mean, they had to recreate these orders.
I guess, like, my assumption is that they were packed up, but they got lost in all of the shipping and packing they're doing. So, 7 boxes got labeled instead of 9. And there's 2 that they probably just went, we don't know what this is. There's no packing in here. We're going to crack it open and we're going to put it back out. And then that stuff needs to get repulled.
We've been using Lunar since we had to,
since day one.
In 2020, late 2020?
Yes, they were the only place we could get DC books during the pandemic.
Yeah. And for the majority of that time, we really haven't had that many issues. And if we've ever had, like, retailers have horror stories about them saying, hey, I was shorted this, and Lunar saying, no, you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
We've checked the weights. Everything is fine.
Yeah. We've had retailers tell us that they were shorted, like, an entire shipment, basically, of a cover. So, like, they didn't get Absolute Batman #2 cover A. And they reported them as shorted to Lunar, and Lunar said, okay, we got the shortage. And then they just never replaced the books. And it's like, this isn't, some random variant cover or a couple copies of a damaged book. This is all of your copies of a major title, and Lunar's just like, we don't have them.
Now, you may hear this and think that it sounds familiar because we had this happen with Sacrificers.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, yeah, it did happen, and it did suck that they weren't able to replace it. But it's not a major title, and we were able to have a solution. Not a great solution, but somebody else helped us out.
Right.
Image stepped in and took care of it, which is great. But for the most part, we've never had these Lunar
in 5
horror
years.
stories.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to get them. Like, whenever we'd say, hey, like, we were short of this, they'd say, okay, we believe you.
Right.
Because we also report every overage we have.
Yep.
And when they say we need photographic proof, we send the photographic proof.
Yep.
Like, none of this is us trying to scam them. And I feel like we've established a relationship of trust.
A level of credibility.
So when we say we don't get this, they can look and say, well, they've always told us. And also often, if they give us 1 or 2 extra books, we just say, we'll keep them, bill us.
Yeah.
It's easier for you. It's easier for us.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, you give us 15 extra copies or something, we're probably going to say, we're going to send these back. But if it's onesies and twosies, it's like,
Fine.
I'll put an extra couple of copies of Superman on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But this is the first time it's really been major things. And also, if you had asked DC Comics what they thought their biggest launch of the year of 2025 would be, what do you think they would say, Dal?
Probably Batman 158, the first chapter of Hush 2.
What were we shorted?
All of our A copies. Well, not all of our A copies. So we ordered like 12 different covers of Batman 158.
Out of, I think, 2,500
Something like that. We were shorted basically all of our open order variants, except for 1 copy that we needed as a pre-order for the basketball cover that Tony Daniel did.
Courtside cover.
So whichever customer...
Who was on the courtside for that one?
There's no like additional athlete. It's just Batman playing basketball. So whichever customer ordered the Tony Daniel courtside cover for Batman 158, that when I was doing the FOCs thought, really? This cover? You were the smart one.
Yeah,
you got
it.
yours.
You got it.
People who ordered the Jim Lee open order variant connecting covers or the Sean Gordon Murphy showcase cover, they got screwed. They didn't get shit this week.
Yep.
We got, what did it work out to be? Like
25 maybe?
No, I'm trying to think of the percentage. Maybe like a quarter or a third of our Hush cover A's, which means we didn't even have enough for subscribers and we had 0 for the shelf. 0 for the shelf for like basically every non-incentive cover for Batman 158 for the first going on 2 days of release.
Yeah.
That super sucks. Additionally sucks in a different way. One of my favorite books right now from DC is Wonder Woman by Tom King and Daniel Sampere. And hey, the concluding chapter of the 19-part storyline shipped this week, we didn't get any of our A covers. All we got was a David Nakayama variant, couple copies. We don't get a lot of those for the shelf, and like the incentive cover. So people who have been enjoying the story and wanted to read the resolution of it, we basically had to go, don't have it. I'm sorry. We didn't get any of our A's or B's for Metamorpho. We didn't get, we got our A copies for Universal Monsters, The Mummy. All of them were damaged. So we have to get replacements on those. A bunch of other stuff where we were shorted, like the Fartacular special for Harley Quinn. We didn't get any of the A covers for that.
Which, for the record, that book is getting rave reviews.
Didn't get a chance to take a look at it.
Our good friends at All Star had a really funny video.
That's great.
Trumpeting, if you will,
If I will.
the attributes of that book.
Yeah, so we were shorted a ton of product, and it is incredibly frustrating to, once again, not know when we're getting these replaced. We know they're going to be replaced. We were told by Lunar they will be replaced. I can look at a manifest that says everything that's going to be replaced.
Which, as we know, that's not necessarily accurate, because how often was
Sure.
Sacrificers on one of those?
Oh, here's a really funny thing. So one of the things that we were shorted last week was the Batman Superman 1 in 25 variant. Not a huge deal. Those things don't usually sell for anything. That one's going for a bunch of money now. Cover price, I think, had it at like $44. It's
Wow.
like, oh, that would have been nice to
Yeah,
have.
sure.
Could have sold that. Thanks. That's also on the list for the manifest for this week,
Sure.
which it probably will not
No.
ship. That thing
Incentive
will
variants
probably-
like that most likely never fill.
They're just not going to come in. So that's where we're at with Lunar. That was one of the 2 distributors that really fucked us over this week.
Wait, there's one other quick point I'd like to make about the ridiculously bigger than Treasury oversized Batman 158.
Oh yeah.
How they have a giant size issue, but it's way bigger than a Treasury size book.
Correct. It is its own special, dumb, weird format.
And because of such, how does it get packed?
Badly. So the way that Lunar ships out their books is there's interior boxes and there's exterior boxes. An exterior box holds 2 interior boxes. An interior box holds 2 rows of stacks of comic books. So
altogether, the box holds 4 stacks.
right.
3 boxes containing 4 stacks.
The giant size Hush book, Batman 158, is too large to fit into an interior box. So it basically has to sit on top of the interior boxes in the exterior box. The problem with that is that there's basically nothing protecting it. Not only from moving around inside, so corners get damaged, but also they didn't even bother to put any protective cover over it, which means that it is on the seam where the tape is on the exterior of the box that you cut through with a knife. Luckily, the way I open boxes is the short flaps on the side first and then the long flap over the middle.
But what you do is
second.
you pull up on the long flap.
So because I
once
do
you
the
cut
short
sides.
flaps first, I can lift it up a little bit. So I'm not cutting down into the box. I'm cutting just along the flaps.
And that's something that we've learned to do over the years
because you don't know if there's any protective material underneath the tape on the long seam.
Now, you would never, ever usually worry about that because all you're doing is cutting the outer box to reveal 2 inner boxes.
Mm-hmm. Except you don't know. And in this case, I'm glad because, oh man, I would have absolutely cut into half of our copies.
Yeah, but also those were all still like huge corner dings.
They weren't in great shape. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even report them because at that point I was so exhausted with everything Lunar was doing that by the time I noticed them at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't care anymore. If someone doesn't want them, fine. I can't guarantee we're going to get better copies at any point in the future.
Sure, they're not going to be able to ship them any better.
No, it's like when we used to get damages from like Diamond reshipments or PRH reshipments, where it's like the way they pack them is what's damaging them. They're not going to pack them any differently if I say to.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, you're rolling the dice. I could ask for more, can't guarantee they're going to be any better. And eventually they're going to run out of copies to replace them with, and you're going to get what you get. Like, it sucks. I don't like selling damaged materials, but sometimes we have no other option. And yeah, that may come up again this week because we just got our Diamond stuff in today on Thursday for Wednesday release. Most of it was damaged.
Yeah. Now let's just go back in time a little bit. So, since the beginning of December, since Diamond had to consolidate warehouses, for us, for a lot of people, but specifically for us, because this is our podcast, Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast, which you know that because we are like halfway into this episode. They've been perpetually a week behind. What I mean by a week behind is that the release dates for their books are inaccurate because they're getting the books to us after Wednesday. So we can't sell the books on the day that they are meant to be for sale because we didn't get them in time.
Right.
So it's been like that since early December. Last week was a double week because we had the previous week's books
that we'd gotten in like Thursday or Friday.
But we got the books on time for that week.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh man, they've turned a corner.
We got them in on Tuesday.
This is it. No, they totally shit the bed this week. We did not get this week's new books from Diamond until today, which is Thursday.
Yep.
A full day after they would have been on sale.
They didn't even give us tracking information until like Tuesday night.
Yeah. So that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
And bunch of damages.
Yeah, I didn't see how they were packed. One of the things that they did right the last couple of weeks is they started returning to how they normally pack stuff for 20 years, which protects it from being damaged during shipments. The last few months, they've been packing things in the dumbest ways possible, in the biggest boxes with the least amount of packing. So everything just gets beat to shit. Like stuff that you would look at and think, does this company not know what comic books are?
One retailer had posted a photo about how bad their shipment was, and it was basically if you take the inner Diamond box with 2 stacks, turn all those books so they're standing spine up, and they were packed that way in the box.
Yep.
However, it turns out that was in fact a box that was damaged in shipping, and UPS repacked it.
Sure.
So it was in no way the condition that it left the Diamond facility from.
Yeah, no, the ones that we've had are ones where it clearly has all of the the Diamond packing material and the Diamond stuff inside. It's just
random.
Yeah, like one of the worst boxes we've gotten in a while where nearly everything was damaged was Diamond sometimes will use these bigger boxes that have like, so they can put in toys and some non-comic size stuff. And then if there's comics that need to go in that box, they put those comics inside an inner box, and that box goes inside the bigger box.
Yeah.
So the comics, that box can move around inside the larger exterior box, but the comics inside can't, so it doesn't really matter. They can't really move around enough to ever get damaged. We had one where they used the larger exterior box, a bunch of pops and some action figures, a bunch of bubble wrap, and then basically 2 stacks of comic books that should have gone in an inner box didn't, so they were just in the box, this much bigger box. So as they spent 2 days in transit...
Were they the packing material for that inner box of toys?
I'm sorry?
Were they the packing material around that inner box
No,
of toys?
they were still stacked up, sort of. But because they spent 2 days being thrown around UPS boxes, trucks and planes.
And look, we've all seen how UPS treats boxes because it's not their job to wear white gloves and put everything on a fluffy, flouted pillow in a truck. Boxes get thrown around.
Yeah. So every comic book inside was beat to shit. And like sometimes you have minor where it's like, look, I don't think the customer who would get this would care a whole lot. They just want to read the story. But these were just like, I cannot charge you money for these. It would be wrong to pay money as a consumer for this condition of book.
Well, this is also a Diamond thing, and you just noticed this yesterday, that all of our copies of Red Before Black #4 were damaged.
Mhm.
And we've mentioned on this podcast often that we are lenient when it comes to damages. We will accept damages to an extent and just not report them because we'd rather have the book on the shelf to sell and assume that people aren't going to be as microscopically judgmental about condition because it's just a comic book that, for the most part, is not an investment.
Yeah, and honestly, to my mind, there's a difference between shelf copies and subscriber copies. Subscriber copies, I want to make sure they're as good as possible because you don't have a choice. I pulled it for you. Here's the one. And I don't want, especially for mail order people, I don't want them to be like, this sucks, because there's really not a lot of recourse at that point. But shelf copies, the consumer can make up their mind. If you pick it up off the shelf and go, this is too damaged, I don't want to buy it, then you don't buy it. But if you're like, I don't care, I just want to read the story, and this is the copy they've got, then you can buy it.
Yeah.
And that's a decision you get to make.
Yeah, if you're picking it up off the shelf, you get to see the condition and decide if you're going to buy it or not.
Yeah.
We had somebody yesterday who's a subscriber who looked at one of their books and said, can I get a different one off the shelf? Sure.
Yeah.
If you don't like this one, that's fine.
I mean, Patrick doesn't like it, but still.
Sure. But, I mean, I'm not going to say no if it's a book we have.
No, it's true.
We had this is a quick eBay divergence, and I will have two of those.
Mhm.
We had somebody vehemently complain about the quality of a book that they ordered for mail order. And in the complaint, they acknowledged that they didn't spend the 35 cents for a bag and a board.
Mhm. However,
we deliberately sent them a damaged book out of spite for them not buying a bag and a board. And Dal's response was basically, look, we'll refund you for the book, but we absolutely strongly disagree that this book is damaged.
yeah, I want to read out the original thing.
Sure.
This order arrived damaged. See attached photos. I understand that I didn't order a bag and board requested, but to send a damaged copy is ridiculous, and it was not damaged during shipping. And that was what they had sent me.
I was the one who packaged that up, by the way,
Yeah,
so I know exactly.
And they
the
included
company.
photos, and it's ridiculous. Like, it is.
You know what? There is a tiny dent in the spine, but you know what? Every single copy had that because that's the way the book came.
Yeah, and also it's minor shelfware, and on top of that, like, here's the brass tacks, okay? When we get an email like that, and it's specifically for a hot book, it's someone basically, they don't want to ever say it because they're ashamed, and they should be ashamed, but they're complaining because they can't sell it at a premium now.
Sure.
All they got for their money was a comic book when they wanted something they could flip. And now they can't flip it because it's not going to grade out high enough. Because the people that they're selling it to want to know if it's going to grade out at a 9.8. Is it going to grade out at a 9.8? And yeah, so I looked at their sales history because we could do that. So it's like, who is this person? What have they bought before from us? They only had 2 transactions. I'll just say it. The second one, the one they're complaining about, Sister Imperator #1, the Ghost comic that's blowing up on the internet because Ghost fans didn't realize there was going to be a comic book, and now
Sure.
it's too late. And then a Mark Spears Action Comics variant from back in December.
Uh-huh.
When Mark Spears' art was blowing up and people were snapping up any variant cover he had done that they had passed on when they'd initially released. So it's like, all right, so you're just buying comics at cover price or just cheap that you can then flip online. So no, I don't really care how badly you think this thing is damaged, because I know you're just saying, I can't sell this at a premium now, and that's not my job, man.
I want to point out
My job is
that
to get you the comic book that you ordered in good condition, and I did that. If you're upset that it's not perfect, go to a shop, pick it out. That's the work you should be doing for the money you're making reselling this to other people.
this is such a dumb thing, but I almost feel like we should have a disclaimer on every single comic that says, you are not guaranteed to get this book in mint condition. Mint condition is a fallacy.
Yeah. So for one thing, that wouldn't matter because no one's going to read it. For
Right.
another thing, this is somebody who passed up the 35-cent bag and
Right.
board.
Sure. But I want to point
They're
out
still
that
going to roll the dice and they're still going to complain.
that same day, I had to pack up 4 copies of that book for different mailer subscribers.
People found it on
We
Google.
wound up selling everything we had,
Yep.
and every single copy was in the same shape.
Yeah.
We haven't heard a peep from the other 3 people.
No, because the other people were probably Ghost
Actually,
fans.
the other 2 people, because one person bought 2.
Yeah, the other people are probably Ghost fans that are like, oh, they've got this comic book and they're selling it at cover price. That's great. I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there are mail order people we have that I can look at, usually just what they're ordering, just straight up. If there's like a hot book or something, like there was a period where we were selling like multiple Bengus variants.
Yeah.
to like one person. It's like, I know you're selling these online. I know you're trying to get these and you're going to sell them for double cover or triple cover, whatever.
Which, our stance has always been the pre-order as many as you want. We don't care.
But it's not how the market works. The market, like, basically people wait until this stuff hits and then is selling for a premium, and then they go every place they can.
I'm sorry. You don't want to take the chance. You need us to do it for you.
Yeah. And also they don't know what they're doing. Like, for a lot of people, like, it's like the stock market, Like, if you know what you're doing, if you understand fundamentals, if you understand the market, you can get ahead of these things and make a lot of money. But what a lot of people do is they just look at the stock that's going up and they're like, no, I got to get it.
I got to get that one.
Like, they don't know anything. And so they play the market badly, that's a lot of these people who are flipping stuff. They wait until the book comes out, starts to skyrocket in value, and then it's like, what can I sneak out from around the edges that hasn't marked it up yet?
I'm going to use this opportunity to tell another eBay story.
Okay.
I've recently been selling a bunch of old CM Punk action figures.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a CM Punk action figure buying phase back in like 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a ton of figures and just put them in storage.
Sure.
Never, I wanted to have them.
Every time you buy one, would you shout, it's collecting time?
No.
Okay.
I would not.
Do you wish you had?
No, definitely don't. So now that he's huge again, I'm like, oh, I can dump these. And my good friend Al Bush did a bunch of research for me to find out what going rates were in a lot of them.
Sure.
And a lot of these are, they're all different prices, but I've got like a couple that are near $100, some that are $150, things like that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely different people who have ever bought wrestling action figures understand, especially for the WWE. There's a whole different tiers of them as far as like, there's ones that the WWE intends to be sold in like Five Belows and places like that, where it's like they're not super articulated, they don't have a ton of great paint apps, they don't really come with anything. And then there's like, as you go up, there's like the elites, and then beyond that, where it's like, oh, these come with a bunch of stuff.
The elite.
Dysfunctional melodramatic family.
So there's one that, and I've sold several so far, and most of the time I get bids that are lower than ask. Fine, whatever. But earlier this week, I started getting questions from somebody about the condition of a box. All of my listings have detailed photos of all the sides, top, bottom, front, back,
yeah, this is
side
all
to side.
sealed product.
Yeah, never been before open, still taped shut from the manufacturer. So I photograph every side, then a close up of the figure through the package, right?
Right.
Then all of these questions come from the same person. This whole story is one person. The question is this box mint? I ignore that question because no action figure you buy off the shelf at a toy store is going to be a mint package.
Nope.
And also, I don't want to deal with those questions.
Yeah. Also, it's super subjective. Like, you're not like a grading company.
Right.
Like, what you would consider mint is maybe not what this person would
Which is
consider
why
mint.
I will never answer those questions.
Yeah, so why get in that debate?
And then the next day, are there any creases? And I leave it alone. Then question mark?
Just want to bring this to the top of your email.
And then there was something else. I eventually just said, the pictures of every single side show you the condition of the box. And then they respond, "What is there a crease right here?" And they do they zoom in one of the photos and say, "Is there a crease here?" I'm like, against my better judgment, I took a close up of that section of the box because there's no crease, and just sent that.
Mm-hmm.
They immediately bought it.
Yay!
I'm like, all right, fine. And then they message with, "I just bought it. Ship out tomorrow?" Because this was like late at night. So to be a dick, I go back into the listing where it says it'll be packed up in 2 to 3 business days, and I copy and paste that and send that.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, I get an email. So it'll be packaged tomorrow, and I don't say anything. And then question mark, and then I pack it up and I sent it, and it's gone. It's at the post office, out of my hands.
Mm-hmm. Still
getting emails. Did you send it? Once it gets sent, it's in the transaction. It's in the page that says, like, because I used eBay's shipping function and I used their shipping calculator, all of that is in the body of the transaction.
There's a tracking number and everything.
Tracking number, and it shows you when it left. And this fucking guy, who, by the way, has just as many as just as high of a rating as I do. Like we're both at like 525.
Did you start using eBay this week?
Right. This is somebody who has bought and sold stuff all the time. And I'm like, let me see what he sells. And he sells shitty beat up wrestling action figures.
Oh, cool.
But he'll say like, oh, this package is torn or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, just how this works.
Yeah.
So I just stopped responding entirely.
Good idea.
Because
Don't engage.
all of that information is available. Just go to the listing. It tells you.
Yep.
Stop asking me. And I got worried because I was even thinking like, should I try to block this guy? But then he bought the figure because I'm waiting for it to be, oh, there's a tiny little crease here. This isn't in the shape you said it was. I never said it was any shape.
Problems upon problems. Yeah.
But we all know in those instances, the seller loses the complaint bid. And you and I have different eBay accounts because you have a business one, apparently, to my consumer one.
I guess. I mean, I started doing the Challengers eBay stuff 6 years ago, something like that. And somehow, I guess the volume we've been doing made it into, like, they made it a business account, which is fine because I think it allows us for a better data collection as far as like when we do our taxes.
The difference though is that I don't get the money until they get the product. Like that's why I use eBay's shipping.
Yeah.
So it'll show when it's delivered,
right,
and then eBay releases the money to me.
That's weird.
So I'm taking it like I sent this figure out. I haven't gotten paid yet.
Sure. I mean, I think like you haven't gotten paid, but eBay's gotten paid.
Right. Yeah.
So the money is just in escrow. Like I don't think there's a version of this.
Interest on that. That's not fair.
I don't think there's a version of this where that person could get the figure and then they don't pay. Like they've already paid.
Sure, but they can complain about it.
Oh, they can always complain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still have one $150 figure that's still out there. Someone did offer me $90 for it though. So yeah,
that's not enough.
No chance on that. No chance on that.
No chance, because that's what you got.
So anyway, yeah, Diamond shit the bed again this week, and of course, a lot of, speaking of Mark Spears, one of our club members who just orders Mark Spears covers, all of those were damaged for this week.
Yeah, we were supposed to get the Mark Spears Monsters #1 4th print. Every single copy was damaged. And guess what? When you report stuff to Diamond, they will immediately tell you whether something is shipping out from their hub or if it's been back ordered. And if it's been back ordered, you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
The Mark Spears covers are back ordered. So
and
that's just it.
And also Mark Spears Vampirella cover and Mark Spears foil Vampirella cover.
Thankfully, those, because they're from Dynamite, we're getting those.
Okay.
But like, I think the Mark Spears Monsters, because that's from Keenspot, and I don't know if Keenspot is giving them anything anymore. A lot of the Keenspot stuff has been moving over to Lunar under Ex Posse Holdings. Yeah, there's no copies to fill it.
Massive at one point too?
I don't think so. I think it was a different one. So yeah, it super sucks that we can not only have product delivered late from Diamond, but also have it be incredibly damaged, but also have it be incredibly damaged and they can't replace it. So it's just like the whole shipment basically is almost a loss. Like,
I think for that specific Mark Spears book, what we should do is show it to the subscriber and say, hey, this is the shape it came in. We can't replace it.
I mean, that's what I've done in the past. We had another Mark Spears Monsters variant that was damaged a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. It was when Diamond had started to really fuck up. And what we usually do with any damages we get is we hold them in, once we report them to Diamond or Lunar or Penguin Random House, we hold them in the back because either they'll want them back or they'll want them destroyed. And until we get the replacements, we keep the damaged ones in the back just in case we can get replacements.
Yeah.
And then that way we can then have them for the customer to say, look, this is damaged. I can't get you another one. Do you still want this one or do you not want it? And that's what we'll have to do for the Mark Spears ones. It's just like, this is all you can get. I feel bad. I literally cannot replace it. This is it.
Yep.
Like, this super sucks. And it's shitty because I know how I would feel if I pre-ordered something from a vendor. I did everything right. I ordered on time. I paid them. And then it came in and they went, oh, either we didn't get it from the manufacturer or we got one and it's screwed up. Which one do you want? It's like, this sucks. Like, I don't know how often I would keep going through that company. And that's what I worry about the most with these situations is how often can you keep getting huge releases late or damaged or not get them at all before your customers start going, one of two things. One, I'm going to get them somewhere else. Two, maybe I don't get anything anymore.
That literally just happened to me as a consumer, which I don't know if I talked about. I think I might have. But Bucket of Blood is my record store of choice in the neighborhood. And I do all of my vinyl pre-orders with them.
Sure.
And I had ordered the Night Flight Orchestra Give Us the Moon LP. And it wasn't something they were stocking for their store.
Shocker.
Yeah, go figure. So when it came in and they noticed the sleeve was damaged, they're like, all right, the sleeve is damaged. And so they opened it to double check and noticed that the album itself was warped.
Ooh.
So
is that bad for records to be warped?
So they played it, and they've got a real sophisticated sound system there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they said, and basically, Chris Mitz from Bucket of Blood got a hold of me and said, look, we noticed the sleeve was damaged, and then we saw that the record is warped. It plays fine, but it's warped, and you watch the needle kind of bounce as it goes. This is already unavailable. We can't reorder this for you.
Right.
So if you want, why don't you take it home and see if it's okay, and then we'll give it to you for a discount.
Okay.
And I said, I don't care. I'll buy it anyway. I literally am just having it to have it. I listen to that album digitally most of the time.
Right.
I'm not going to play it on vinyl that much.
No.
But I took it home, and the album is definitely warped, and the needle does definitely go up and down. Sounds fine.
Okay.
Sounds fine.
Yeah.
But I understand entirely where they're coming from, because I asked for a thing, they ordered the thing, it came in damaged, they can't replace it. What are they going to do? And they bent over backwards to make sure it was a fine experience for me, and they didn't need to, because I'm not that picky.
Right.
Like, if the album skipped and was unplayable, maybe I would have been like, I don't want this.
But I mean, I see where they're coming from, because as a store owner, we have a certain reputation, and I don't like having my reputation damaged.
When it's not your fault.
When it's not my fault. And I've said this, I think, to you, and maybe I've said it a bunch of times on the podcast, but one of the things about my job that I hate the most is the amount of time I have to spend apologizing for things that aren't my fault. The amount of time lately that I have to apologize to our customers for not having releases ready for them on release day, to not having stuff in the right condition, to not being able to have stuff on ship dates because distributors aren't sending them out. Distributors aren't shipping out everything that we order. Distributors are sending stuff out packed badly. And it's just, and I cannot control it. A thing that a lot of retailers have complained about over the last few years is that for a lot of instances, we traded one monopoly for several monopolies.
Yeah.
If you are unhappy with how Lunar got you your Batman 158s or didn't get you your Batman 158s this week, you have no choice.
Too bad.
Yeah. You can't get them from anyone else. So if you're unhappy with how Lunar's doing things, you can't take your DC business to another vendor. That's it. Same thing with a lot of the stuff that Diamond has, is the only place you can get it is Diamond.
Yep.
So if you're pissed off with how Diamond's doing their business, we shifted as much stuff as we could away from Diamond, and we still got fucked this week. Like, this, the amount of this that's happening via distribution is the main stress in my life on a week-to-week basis running the store.
Yes.
There's a lot of other things that go on behind the scenes, above and beyond the regular retail business that we do in the store. But the fact that when a shipment comes in, I am stressing out opening it because I can't wait to see what I got fucked on this time.
How much more work is now piled upon you.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is that when we have a huge release week from Lunar, like we did this past week, where we get 7 boxes of stuff in the day before they're supposed to go on the shelves, which 10 years ago would have been fine.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, that's insufficient. With the amount of work we have to do checking in all these different orders, a day before it goes on sale is, for me, essentially past the deadline. Like, Monday is where I need it.
Even though
Tuesday is too late.
Contractually, Lunar will say, that's all we've ever promised, is to get you the books by Tuesday.
Right. But that's not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it is not good enough anymore.
Also, the quantities we're ordering now compared to 10 years ago.
And that's the other thing, is with that much stuff to unpack, what we got from Lunar would have been a big order altogether for everything we get 3 years ago.
Yeah.
This is just one of 3 vendors we get from now. So it's that stuff. But
And yet Dow still didn't want any extra help that day.
When I get to the bottom of the pile and I realize that we're missing 2 boxes worth of stuff, I now have to stop what I'm doing, catalog everything that we're missing, report it all to Lunar, send an email to Lunar saying, you've got to ship this stuff out separately. I cannot wait until next week. Haha, we probably are. And that's all stuff that I have to do in addition
on
to
top
all
of
the
whatever
other
else you're
things.
doing. Yeah. Yeah.
That
It
sucks.
was a late Tuesday for you.
It was a real late Tuesday because I lost a bunch of time to everything not being there and having to deal with what that means. Yeah, it super duper sucks. Every week now.
Well, Dow,
Patrick.
maybe this isn't going to be a concern much longer because there's a new player on the field. Dow,
It is.
Diamond has
Speaking of
been
distro.
bought, maybe contingent on the courts approving the sale. Alliance Entertainment has purchased Diamond Comic Distributors
and also Alliance.
and Alliance Gaming, which is completely unrelated, just happen to have same
No, but I
names.
like saying them the same way. I
Yeah.
like saying that Alliance bought Diamond at Alliance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what happened?
According to reports today, they bought everything except Diamond UK.
I think they also didn't buy Gemstone.
Yeah.
There was so I was reading a thing on Comics Beat, The Beat.
The Beat
Comics
had a
Beat.
good article last night
Yeah, so
about a conference call podcast.
yeah, that's the one I'm thinking
Yeah.
of. Dennis Barger from Wonderland Comics.
and Jesse James.
And Jesse James. And it's really funny because in Heidi's first paragraph, she's like, that sentence may send chills up people's spines. And it's like, it really did.
did you read the last sentence of the whole article?
I probably.
We need to make it clear to David Ogilvy that Dennis Barger is a very specific case and does not represent even a tiny minority
But I mean,
of the comics industry.
say what you will, like those retailers got this guy on the phone and got him to talk about it. And it's funny because it really confirms a lot of what we were first talking about when we were talking about Diamond going into Chapter 11 bankruptcy and potentially going away. One of the things we talked about in that initial podcast episode was that, you know, a lot of people who don't know much about comics distribution, but know a little bit about comics had come to you and I and said, like, what does this mean? Is this, you know, for challengers? Like, is this, if they go away, like, how are you going to get comics? And we had to tell them, like, look, we don't really get a lot of comics from Diamond anymore. And certainly over the last few months, as more people have shifted to Lunar and Penguin Random House, we are getting even less comics from Diamond than ever before. But where it would really affect us would be in, like, collectibles and merchandise. Like, we get a lot of Funko Pops and Hasbro toys and magnets and pins and stuff like that. And it's really funny because David Ogilvy had said in this podcast, like, that's kind of why they bought Diamond.
Yeah, they already deal with Funko Pops and Hasbro.
And having, you know, thousands of more accounts where they can sell that stuff and also having access to a lot of the things that Diamond had access to that they might not have had access to at Alliance is really complimentary. So to them, buying Diamond was really just about enhancing their toys and collectibles business. Not so much the comic stuff. Not that they're getting rid of it. It's just that comics they don't know anything about. So they are going to, should the sale go through in the next day or two, they will kind of analyze all that stuff and figure out, you know, what that means and how they're going to enhance that part of the business. I assume that some stuff will maybe go away. They did say that kind of one of the things, like, they want $20 items to be selling, not $5 items.
Yeah, the price point of comics is too low to make money off of.
Right.
They don't like selling $5 CDs.
Right.
They sell $20 CDs.
They sell $20 vinyl, you know, like that's the stuff that they would want to sell. And so
somebody has already surmised that the way that Alliance will get around that, and of course, this is all pure day one speculation.
Yeah, to be clear, at the time that David Ogilvy from Alliance was doing this podcast,
not this podcast, the podcast he was on.
Correct, the podcast he was on. Alliance doesn't own Diamond yet, and they're limited in what they can get from Diamond data-wise.
They can't even talk to
anyone
Diamond. Yeah.
So a lot of what they're talking about, you know, in either investor-facing communications or, you know, other podcast episodes with the comics retail community, a lot of this is highly speculative, even from their end. Like, they have intentions, but it's like, we'll see where it goes.
So speculation on one camp is that the way Alliance is going to get around this price point issue is bundles of 5.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've seen recently on the publisher end of things, as publishers try and figure out how best to maintain access to the market, is that you're seeing more cooperative stuff. Alien Entertainment.
Yeah, the people that own Valiant.
Yeah. No, Alien Books. Alien Books,
Okay.
because Alien Entertainment is the Doctor Who people. That's the thing in my head.
You're okay. Alien Entertainment is definitely the Midwest's largest source of Doctor Who merchandise.
Patrick will be hopefully shopping with them at C2E2 if they have some new Doctor
because
stuff.
there is a store right around the corner from us.
It's true.
That I literally have never been to.
But Alien Books, which is the company that took over all the Valiant stuff sometime back, is now going to be distributed by IDW.
Yeah.
Which means they'll be listed in the IDW catalog, and IDW will handle the distro.
Basically like Top Shelf.
Yeah, well, no. So here's the thing: the difference here is that they don't own Alien Books. Like Alien Books is basically outsourcing their distribution and marketing to IDW. So Alien Books owns the material, and they do the licensing, and they do all the creative end, and then they are basically just sending files more or less to IDW to then do the rest of the process, the last mile of it.
Alien Books now get to be listed through Penguin Random House.
That's why they're doing it.
Yeah. I don't understand how this is
because Penguin Random House is not picking up Alien Books, but IDW has a deal.
But I don't understand how it's beneficial to IDW at all to do this.
I assume IDW gets a cut of it.
Cut of what?
I don't know. I mean, they must have seen some numbers where they're like, this makes a kind of sense to us for the amount of work we have to do.
I guess. That was one of those announcements that all I said was, really?
Yeah, we don't really carry Alien Book stuff for the shelf, and we maybe have a subscriber here or there that might want a specific Valiant book.
Too many times to make Valiant a thing.
Yeah, we're pretty much done there.
And it never worked for us.
But I think you might see more of that, where smaller publishers that maybe don't have as big a footprint might kind of band together either as a collective to then be able to go to some place like Lunar and say, look, you don't want to deal with these 5 small companies, but how about this one medium-sized company?
Maybe.
That you're getting one set of data from and one set of shipments from. Like, does that make more sense?
The gist of the Alliance buying Diamond situation is that Alliance Entertainment is a company that's been around for a while, that has a good reputation for the people that use them for games, toys, albums. They don't know anything about comics. They don't care about comics. They're not excited. They didn't know what San Diego was really when they found out that they wound up buying a booth.
Congratulations, you have a booth at San Diego Comic-Con.
But they're not that interested in comics. But they want distribution to all of us for the other stuff, and we're fine with that.
Yeah,
like, I'm disheartened by their lack of interest in the comics space, considering they bought a comic is the middle word of this company's name.
But at the same time, I can't blame them.
It's the middle word of our name as well.
We've had a really tough time figuring out during the bankruptcy process of Diamond, what financially would make any sense to buy Diamond distribution.
And they pointed out that the comic aspect of Diamond's business has always been losing money.
Yeah. A lot of people have analyzed Diamond's financials over the last few months as more stuff has been made publicly available because of the bankruptcy process. And a lot of it is just that Diamond as a distribution entity for comics only really makes sense if you are the sole distributor of comics. Like if you have access to, and the exclusive access to, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, IDW, Boom, the other companies then can make a kind of sense because they're just gravy, because you're doing all of the other stuff. And the money you're making off of that allows you to kind of offer as options these other companies, but those other companies are not keeping the lights on. If all you have left is those other companies, you're fucked. And you make that up with, as Diamond tried to, since they've been losing everybody over the last 6 years, with increased collectibles and merchandise offerings. You push toys harder. You offer candy. You offer vinyl. You offer.
Yeah, it's funny that Diamond has been offering a lot more vinyl recently.
Sure. And it makes sense, especially if, you're packing up 3 copies of Keen Spot comic that as a Diamond is maybe making 10 cents a copy on. And then, or you could be selling vinyl where you're selling it directly to stores and you're making, $4 or $5
sure
a thing. Like that makes way more sense. Same thing with all the toys and all of the other stuff. So
look, I'm personally excited for the potential of us having access to new vinyl, especially since I was just talking about ordering vinyl early in this episode.
Sure.
But the same way I would start using the way that I have been using our book publisher resources to buy the books I would normally buy at bookstores, but I can get basically anything I want, except a lot of the British stuff I buy. That's all through Waterstones. Through book publishers, through Challengers, I would love to have the capacity to order albums for myself directly from Alliance. So we'll see if that's even a consideration. But selfishly, I'm looking ahead as, that could be a benefit to me.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and I mean, certainly from my end, a company that is very interested in maintaining the
collectible space.
Well, I was going to say like the relationships and contracts that Diamond had with places like Hasbro.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I most want. I don't.
Well, they already have their own.
Right. I don't want to see a disruption to my ability to get Transformers toys from Hasbro.
Yeah.
So a company that bought this to value that
helmet. I want to get that helmet.
Yeah, man. Like we said it months ago. Losing the comic side of it, like even the subscribers that we have that are getting the books that we can only get from Diamond, that's not really the only thing they buy from us. So if they understood that like those books were unavailable because the distribution dried up and those companies can't release them to market, one, we wouldn't be losing that much money from it. And two, I don't think those customers would get over it very quickly, you know?
Yeah.
It's not be that detrimental.
We can't get them the books anymore. It's that those books cannot be gotten.
Yeah. Those companies might have to move to direct consumer sales, in which case, great, you can just order them directly from those publishers. But losing access to the toy and merchandise stuff, we don't really have a good resource for that. That was the thing that was really kind of frustrating to us over the last little while, is we weren't clear on if orders we were placing from Diamond would actually fill. We don't know where to get some of this stuff. Like, literally, the benefit to Diamond is that it aggregates all that stuff into a bundle that makes doing smaller purchases economically viable for us and for them. If we have to parts all that stuff out to 15 or 20 different distributors, we'll never meet the minimums. We will never be able to get this stuff in because we don't need to order $200 worth of magnets.
Right.
We need to order $10 worth of magnets.
Yep. Literally at C2E2 this year, there are now 3 Marvel Legends I'll be looking for, because those are things that have been released that we never got through Diamond.
Yeah.
One is from a wave where we only got pieces of.
I'd really like it if that stopped happening, because that's been a bummer of Hasbro stuff for the last 10 years. Is like you place the order, you do it as soon as new to order comes up, you get the order right in, and then some of it just never fills. Yeah. You never even get a cancellation. It just doesn't fill.
So there's a Secret Wars figure that we never got, but then there's the whole new Spider-Man wave that we never got.
Okay, what were the figures? I mean, I assume the Secret Wars one is Black Costume Spidey.
Yeah, but the Spider-Boy, Francine Fry Electro, that wave of classic Spider-Man.
What would you be getting from there?
Was just
Spider-Boy and Electro Lady?
Electro, yeah. But I mean, we didn't order that. Like, we ordered that whole wave and got none of it.
No.
So with the Secret Wars figures, there was no cases available. You had to order piece lots through Diamond.
On the biggest backer cards of all time.
But for Spider-Man, we ordered the case and then a couple extras here and there. Yeah. And have gotten none of them.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I did a lot of special order data mining this week for Diamond to see what has come out that we haven't gotten, what should have come out, what orders can just be deleted entirely.
Yeah, the whole first wave of Transformers Age of the Primes has started shipping. People are posting their purchases and getting their pre-orders in from all their different online vendors. We haven't gotten any of ours yet. Yay! So that's been fun to see.
Maybe that's what you look for at C2E2.
We'll see.
2E2.
Like, I'll be honest, some of the stuff that I order from Diamond for me for Hasbro stuff is stuff that I'm kind of only ordering because I'm getting it wholesale.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to buy it retail, I'd be like, I don't want it that bad.
Sure. That's fair.
And it's certainly, like, at a convention markup, I'd be real skeptical about whether or not that was a smart move.
That's true.
Because there's some of this stuff at this point, if I really wanted to, I probably could just go on Big Bad Toy Store or Hasbro Pulse and be like, yeah, I'll just order it, send it out. But I'm okay waiting a little bit until I know for sure that it's going to come in or not come in. First wave stuff for Transformers, because they do basically they do a year's product line, and they'll do 3 or 4 waves. the first wave stuff is always the easiest to get because that's the stuff that like Targets and Walmarts actually stock.
Yeah.
It's like when you get into wave 2, 3, and 4 where it's like, oh, they don't restock anything. And that stuff can become real expensive on the aftermarket.
Well, I hope you get what you want.
Certainly in the Transformer sense, that would be nice. Everything else, maybe that's asking too much.
Now we've come to the end of 2 things. You know what those things are?
No.
This podcast.
Okay. Thanks for what's the second
and
thing?
our 17th year in business.
Yeah. 17th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. March 31st.
When
As
this,
people are listening to this, it is coming up for us.
yeah, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I mean, there could be a sinkhole that swallows the entire building. I don't know.
3
We still have
years
the
ago.
website. Would that count? If the building sank into the earth,
Yeah,
but we still have the website, we couldn't sell anything because all the products sank into the earth.
Sure.
But people could still like do pre-orders. They could buy shelf sponsorships.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Would that count as still being in business?
Yeah.
Okay.
so you turn that website off.
Okay.
3 years ago, we celebrated the anniversary by heading back out to Kokomo Toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years ago, we had our 15th anniversary party at the store when I was in hell.
Yeah.
Thanks for laughing.
Was it
2
only 2 years ago?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Last year, we did nothing.
Guess.
And
Right
this year, yeah, we did nothing.
Probably nothing. Yeah.
Anyway, congratulations.
It's
on
also
17.
it's also 17.
Right, I know. I know.
No, I'm not
Look.
saying that for you. I'm saying that for the people listening. Like it's 17.
I was talking to our good friend Tony Marengo
Yeah.
this week, whose own business, the Mac Tutor,
Mhm.
just celebrated its 17th anniversary.
Hey, congrats.
So he was looking up statistics, and that 25% of businesses make it to year 15.
Uh-huh.
So while there's no statistics for years 16 or 17,
Because again, those don't really matter.
it's estimated to be 22%.
Okay.
So only 22% of businesses make it 17 years.
Nice.
So congratulations on 17 years.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.